Welcome back to Plague Scythe Studios, everyone, and welcome to Rock and Rage Episode 2. Today we are playing Gears of War 4. We're going to be hopping into the Horde mode because that is definitely the mode that makes me the most angry, mostly because of players and not the actual game itself. And we're going to be listening to Meshuggah's ObZen, which came out in 2008. Because of that, I was kind of thinking of doing Gears 2, but it's not been touched by the Xbox One X update. High fidelity, all that good stuff yet, so figured I'd just go ahead and hop into this and get a little bit more use out of this game that I've not actually put a whole lot of time into. So Horde mode, here we go. Alright, let the Horde mode begin with the overprocessed Genty guitars. Fortunately, we're on a Gears of War 2 original map, which is good. Also, this isn't the first time I've tried to record this, because I had a crash about 15 minutes in, unfortunately, because haven't upgraded my graphics card driver on this mini PC I'm recording on in freaking ages, so my bad, but knock on compressed wood there that doesn't happen again. So yeah, I figured I'd get a little bit of more use out of my Xbox One X, not that it's using the full potential of the X. Well, it is, it's just it can't handle 4K 60 because, you know, consoles, but whatever, still enjoyable, still get 60 FPS Gears on TV without having to hook up my PC and waste like 130 gigs worth of storage, because apparently Microsoft just doesn't know how to compress audio and textures, because, you know, gotta get those hard drive cells up, am I right? So yeah, playing some Gears 4 and Meshuggah ObZen. This is quite the album. So starts off with Combustion, and I first heard this album about 3 or 4 months after it came out. I remember going over to my uncle's house and we were swapping some albums around. He gave me With Odin on Our Side by Amon Amarth at the same time. But he gave me ObZen and Meshuggah's Rare Tracks, which is another really, really good Meshuggah album, especially for a demo. But I'd heard of Meshuggah. I'd even heard a couple of their songs from the Chaos Sphere and Destroy, Erase, Improve albums, that sort of stuff. But, you know, nothing with 8 strings. I didn't even know that 8 strings were a thing at that point, probably. But he gave it to me. He's like, I'm not super huge into the new stuff, but you might like it. Check it out. Okay. So we're driving back after playing Gears of War 2 Horde together, nonetheless, because we're both huge Gears fans. And this is the first song that comes off on the album, and to my mother's chagrin, probably at the time, who was driving home, and I was just like, what the hell is this? It's so primal, so over the top, but it's like sheer technical perfection. And I was hooked at that point. I listened to the entire album straight, back and forth, probably 10 times over the course of a couple of days. And I just fell in love with the band, and especially this album. And some people, you know, especially longtime Meshuggah fans and even some newer fans of the newer albums, say this album's a little overprocessed and kind of nasally sounding, and to a certain extent I would agree, but I think it works really well. Having heard a couple of the songs played live with, you know, real amplifiers and a little bit more organic equipment, it definitely sounds really nice. But on album, I can't really imagine this in any other production style. I think they're Line 6 pod racks, and you know, everything they were doing back at that time works really well for the song structures. So I've heard some people try to attempt to quote-unquote fix this with mixing the bass and the guitars a little bit differently, but again, I think it works really well for this album. And I'm glad it's not on, you know, some of the other stuff like Nothing or Catch 33, which this album definitely made me go back and listen to and appreciate those albums even more. But yeah, I think it works really well for this. It's not something that I can sound good doing personally. I like a thicker, meatier tone, you know, like they have on Violent Sleeper Reason to handle the 8-string parts. But definitely works really well for what they were trying to go for there. And this game's a little bit harder on normal, not super harder, but seems more difficult than Gears 3 on normal difficulty. But not that I've played that in forever to really remember. Mainly sticking to the 25 wave casual mode on this if I do play Horde. And I've not played this game a whole hell of a lot, even though it's been out. I've not even played the campaign for a second time through. I was chalking up some of the stuff I want to get to as far as video games go, and I just don't have enough time between this and this channel and trying to record the stuff I want to do and maintain some semblance of a social life. It just, I guess this is what adulthood is. More money and energy than time, and then you retire and you have more time and money than energy. And college kids, you have more time and energy than money. It's one of those things. But yeah, this is another amazing song, another song that goes to prove that Meshuggah would probably suck were it not for Thomas Hawk. You know, the simple syncopated, like dotted eighth notes or dotted quarter notes that are so brutal and accentuated by Thomas's drumming. And I don't know that they played this song live in forever. Probably not since the last tour, because when I saw them, they were only playing Dancers of a Discordant System and Bleed, and those sounded amazing with the Randall Satans they were playing at the time. But there's just a lot of just bangers on this album. So many just good tracks to stand alone. I thought Colossus, songwriting wise, was strong. Very, very good album. But none of the songs I wanted to listen to on my own all the time. There was a few that was like, yeah, these are cool, but they didn't flow the way I wanted them to for a single, I guess. Whereas so many of these songs are just freaking brutal on their own and have their own patterns and rhythms that stand alone. They don't need anything else to support it. And I guess it's kind of a downfall, because you can listen to something like Colossus and Violent Sleep of Reason and even Nothing all the way through, and it kind of flows really well, obviously, especially Catch 33, considering it's one big long song. But this one doesn't really work as well that way. But again, the individual songs are stronger because of it. This has one of the most brutal middle sections of any song ever. I also love that Pigtronics device Friedrich's using here. I don't even know what it's called. I never even know what to search for. Seems like there's a YouTube video of him playing one, so I'll probably find it there. But Pigtronics doesn't sell it anymore from what I know. But it's like a little clip-on thing you put on your finger, and it lets out a magnetic field that keeps the strings, resonating, and gives you kind of a violin bow effect, I guess. Kind of like, it reminds me a lot of what Jimmy Page used to do back in the day with Led Zeppelin. So, wow, these people are getting destroyed. We'll probably, by we I mean me, probably get a little more frustrated with this one than our last entry, if I had to guess. Which, obviously, if you're a viewer of this channel, you see that, especially I have an excuse, kind of, because I'm going through some experimental stages here, trying to see what fits, what I like doing, what you guys like to see. But there's a lot of these videos that I try out, and I don't really keep up or do anything with in a timely manner, at least. There's a lot of stuff that I've tried out, and again, I just kind of left there, explained. And some of the other series I've only had a few entries in. I want to get through all of them, but I don't have the resources or time or technical ability to get through a video a day and keep a full-time job and still have somewhat of a life. At least what I would consider a life. So that's a bad thing about it. So I'm trying to, in this first year of this grand experiment of Plague Scythe Studios, get through what the ideas I'd like to and see what sticks, kind of. I love the syncopated part. It's so deceptively simple. Took me like a week to learn this rhythm pattern without screwing it up. Now it's, comes so naturally, which is the beauty of Meshuggah and this album in general. It's so simple and primal, but it goes so against what we grow up with and what traditional music should be to our ears. This is another part that they play better live upcoming here. I think they just they chug a whole low F chord, which sounds so good. Here's just the lowest string. Sounds great, obviously. A high tension 29.4 inch, whatever, 70 or 72 gauge they're playing. Sounds phenomenal, but get a whole power chord going. Meaty. And these guys suck. I hate these things. What I hate more than some of the actual enemy design in this game, besides, you know, I miss the regular locusts most of the time because the swarm are kind of boring. The robots are the worst in this game, but the swarm are... Yeah, I hate those things, but the naming scheme of the enemies in this game is just garbage. Like Juvie, okay, that's kind of funny. It's like, all right, they're young and juvenile, I get that. But Pouncer and what's the other... Not Swarm. There might be a Swarmer in here. But all the enemy names are just what they do. You know, you had like snipers and grenadiers and that sort of stuff. But, you know, you also had Theron guards and Cantuses and some unique names and, you know, some stuff like that. But now it's just like they've completely ran out of ideas. This is such a cynical game in some ways. Even though I'm not going to complain too much about the microtransactions, that sort of thing, considering the Battlefront 2 issue. But do not date this video too badly. I won't talk about that. Bleed. This is probably the song from this album. Even though to me there's a couple more that are easily just as iconic. But this is the one that's like, how do you play this every night? And obviously they've been doing it for 10 years, so they're getting pretty good at it. But yeah, it's something. I'm going to rest here and check that the capture's still going because I don't exactly trust this PC yet. So far, so good, which is preferable. But yeah, this song is one of those songs that made me question everything I learned about guitar up to that point. Because when I try to play it, I'm like, I can play stuff faster for longer periods of time than this. Why can I get this? But it's that syncopation, that switching between rhythms, that it's just not natural. It's not something that, you know, at least Western culture, growing up in standard 4/4 time signature stuff, you would ever play that sort of rhythm ever. Like, even I can't even think of a lead or a solo where that would be commonplace. So, and then to have that over and over, and then switch between different variations of that rhythm, it's just unheard of. And then, of course, it's got this syncopated mess here. But it's one of the best metal songs ever written, without a doubt. And the great part about this, you could play most of this on a 6 and 7 string. There's just a couple low parts that, you know, when they're that part. Obviously, I mean, I nailed it with my mouth. But most of this could absolutely be played in, you know, half step down and sound just as brutal, which is pretty cool. I'd hate to be the drummer. I'd hate to be Thomas, right, in these songs. I guess he has calves of steel now after practicing it, but according to interviews I read at the time, recording this album, like half the time spent was on the other songs, and then 50% of the time was just on Bleed alone, just them trying to practice it and be able to play it in one sitting, which is insanity. So if they had a hard time with it, I wouldn't feel bad if you have a hard time trying to practice it. But there's some other songs like the opener to Violent Sleep of Reason, Clockworks. It wouldn't surprise me they took a long time to learn that one too, because that one's, I've not ever tried to learn that song yet, but even in the year I've been listening to that song, nothing's come to me through osmosis, which usually it doesn't take but a couple listens, and I'm like, okay, I can get at least a majority of this. But even with this album, I didn't even find an 8-string, which is the H338 that I have as my first 8-string. I didn't even see one for 2.5 years until after this album came out, and I snatched it up immediately. But even at that point, I had no way to really practice it except for parts of this song, and by the time I got it, it was like, okay, I can kind of get the right hand going, but I have no idea what my left hand's doing. It took, a good couple weeks of watching videos of them playing live, with a couple of lessons, and I was like, okay, now I can kind of get into what they're doing, but it was very much like learning a new instrument. And I think that's why I have such a really big connection with this album, even though, I did hear it early on as a guitar player, I guess, but as far as actually playing this stuff, I've been playing guitar for, 4.5, 5 years at that point, so it wasn't like super influential in that way, but it made me learn guitar again, kind of. So I'm still learning stuff, and I'm doing some stuff on my own, Some of it, you know, is definitely inspired by other artists as well, but like open tuning 8 strings, a whole new beast, which I've been delving into. It's just a phenomenal instrument. Obviously, I've never even gotten into 9 or 10 strings, nor do I really want to right now. But, I mean, it might be an option. This is another extremely cool part. This is a solo that, Friedrich never plays the same twice in a row, which I think is really cool that their music allows them to do that. Obviously, this is a very Alan Holdsworthy type solo to begin with, but, that's something that I try to, you know, emulate a little bit in some of the heavier stuff I write. It's like, yeah, I can come up with something I can memorize and it sounds good, but I think the stronger parts are having such a unique rhythm that you can do anything over it and it still sounds good. And that's a really cool aspect of, you know, obviously on their Nothing album as well, Catch 33 even, especially this album, they can keep that brutal technical low end and play these soaring progressive leads, and it fits so well together. I would have never thought to do that. And even being, you know, I was a big fan of progressive bands like Rush and even older stuff like that. It's genius combination. I'll tell you one thing that I really miss about this era of Meshuggah. They got some great guitars now on tour. Obviously, you know, their bass model M8M that Morton still plays. Love that thing. I would absolutely kill to have one. Not nearly as, you know, the M80M is not nearly as cool, bolt-on neck and all that, but still a really good guitar. Great 8-string. And Friedrich's newest Stoneman guitars are to absolutely die for. 28 and 27-inch scales. One of them's got True Temperament. The one that's the triple humbucker that he plays live pretty much exclusively now is my favorite. Obviously, all of them are great. The FTM 33 signature, I would definitely take one of those on a heartbeat if I find a good price on it. But the guitars I love the most, besides their original Nevborn guitars, which obviously there's a reason they didn't play them. They're too short a scale, and well, the scale actually wasn't. Their second gen ones were fine. I think they were 28 inch or 29 point, you know, 0.4, whatever it was. The scaling was okay, but tuning stability wasn't great. I love the shape of those things. Very good, cool craftsmanship. Even if it didn't work, I'd love to see a revisit of that at some point. But the Iceman 8 strings that they had commissioned for the tour after ObZen, or, you know, supporting ObZen, some of the sexiest guitars I've ever seen. And unfortunately, they were too neck heavy, and they ordered a second round where the neck joint was shifted in a couple frets, and I don't think Friedrich could play his leads on it nearly as well, so he ended up giving the shorter, you know, overall length ones to Morton and kept the longer ones. But not only are they some of the best looking guitars I've ever seen, but Friedrich says that his Icemans are the best sounding 8 strings that he owns. So if I ever had some way of accessing the LA custom shop from Ibanez, I would be very, very hard pressed not to get an Iceman 8 string, because they are, man, those things are just amazing looking. Very ergonomic too. If they could just figure out the weight issue, it'd be pretty much a day one buy for me. But very cool guitars there. Their new stuff's great too. Stoneman's cool. I didn't like the I didn't like the base model Stoneman with the white pick guard quite as much that Friedrich was playing to support Coloss as much, but so cool looking. And here it goes, Dead. And that's one of the bad things about playing an online game on this series, is now you get to experience purgatory with me. Thank you for the revive, broski. I figured I'd use this series not only as, you know, a little bit of testing the waters, but kind of really I'm using this episode because I won't be able to put out a whole lot of videos in the next week or so. Obviously it's around Thanksgiving time, traveling back home, all that good stuff, so you know, anyone can probably do the math and understand why I'm not able to dedicate as much time around to the channel around this time of year. We'll be back on a more normal schedule around, you know, beginning of January. I might have a couple hiccups through there, but then after that I don't get shit for days off, so you'll be seeing plenty of this. Oh shit, I didn't pay attention. Is that it? Yep. Hopefully no one quits and we can just retry from here. That's problem with this game. Everyone just quits as soon as one person goes down. There's another pretty, well, quote-unquote pretty part. But yeah, I figured I'd use this series as kind of, you know, give you a little bit behind-the-scenes talky, and, you know, kind of, no, I don't want to say padded filler or anything like that, but a little bit more, I wouldn't say sustenance, but, you know, longer drawn out type stuff. And it's a bit ironic because the first word in the, I guess you could call it the slogan of this channel is games, you know, games take metal. And I've been cutting back a lot on the game stuff because when I started this channel, I had no idea what people were going to watch. For all I know, that, you know, people could have gotten drawn more to the tech side of it, gotten drawn more to the game side of it. I had no idea when I was doing this. As it turned out, it's the guitar stuff that isn't quite as oversaturated on YouTube. It's still pretty saturated. I mean, there's a lot of people doing the same stuff, and plenty of people that sound better than me, plenty of people that have a lot better production value. So it's a little surprising to me, but at the same time, I get it. So because of that, I've been shying away from the video game stuff because I still enjoy doing it, but as far as the effort I put into it, it makes more sense to do the stuff that's more popular. And I've been down the gaming YouTube path before, and it's a dead end. So I figured I would use this as a supplementative type thing. And the plan is right now is to change that slogan. So I'll be sure to detail it when the time comes closer. But like I said, I've been using this first year as kind of an experiment, trying new shows and ideas I have, and see what sticks. Not everything is going to carry over after our year anniversary is the plan, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. I don't want stuff like this to stop, you know, permanently. But as far as like the backlog and game reviews, that sort of stuff goes, I don't think I'm going to keep that up forever. I enjoy doing it, but like I said, when I can make a product review of, say, like the Moore Radar pedal that I played for probably on and off 3 or 4 hours over the few days that I got it, spent about 35-40 minutes recording the A-roll of that footage. Spent, you know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes recording the guitar demo part of it, and then spent another hour editing and uploading all that good stuff. That's a video. It takes a while, but it's a video that gets, you know, it's about 1,000 reviews, probably, or 1,000 views by the time this goes up. Whereas video game stuff, I play the game for probably 3 to 5 hours, which I'll be doing anyway, but still, you gotta put that into context, and it takes way longer to edit. And I generally bullet point write out a little bit more what I'm going to save those videos, so they just take longer for a lot less payback. Not that I'm looking for payback in that way, but the audience has spoken. I will say that much. And because of that, I'm going to start focusing more on the music side and doing stuff like this if there's going to be some gaming stuff. So I love gaming, but I don't think this is the place for it. This is a weird song. A lot of their title track stuff has been kind of not what you would expect from a title track from a band, which is a good thing. But there's some really, really cool syncopation and really nice guitar tone on the verses in this. That part's just kind of disconcerting and creepy sounding. I fell asleep a couple times to this track and this album in general, but I remember a couple times like riding home on the bus from school, and yeah, this is way more nightmare inducing than any type of like gory death metal or anything like that. It's just so hellish sounding. I don't know. There's other games, other bands that are more apocalyptic sounding. You know, there's stuff like black metal, Dimmu Borgir, orchestral type stuff like that sounds like, okay, this is the end of the world. Even like Gojira has this beauty apocalypse vibe going on that I have trouble putting into words. But there's something that's like you can grasp to that, even if it is a little scary sounding. This is just so primal. It's like the beginning and end of the universe. It's something you have a hard time grasping as a Westerner, I guess. which is, yeah, I just don't know how this kind of stuff comes naturally to people. Even the heavier, the heaviest 8-string stuff I write is still very tame compared to this, as far as the rhythmics and the tonality goes. But yeah, as far as consoles go, Nintendo Switch is definitely still my favorite this year. But this is pretty good. I mean, it doesn't match my PC in any way. But the problem is, the games are so well optimized for the hardware on here. It's only like a RX 480 tier graphics card, not a fast CPU to least. It's a freaking laptop CPU. But said they're optimized well enough that this is still like 1080 to 1440p at high graphics at 60 FPS, which is a lot better than you could probably do on PC version. And the 4K 30, there's no way I could even keep that at max graphics on my 980 Ti. So, it's impressive, and mainly got it just to experience 4K Halo. And again, it keeps a lot of storage off of my PC, and oh, here you go. If you want a tone match of this album, this is the place to do it. That's one of the coolest drum fills, and that's a monstrous bass sound. That's what I love about Meshuggah, is when you hear the guitars alone, it's like, that's it's brutal, but it's kind of weaker than you expect. Not as high gain as you might think, especially on the 8-string, more modern stuff they do. And then you hear the drums and bass come in, and it's like, holy shit, it's really Dick Lovegren holding all that down. The bass tone on this album and Colossal are just to die for. But yeah, overall, so, the Xbox One X, definitely more impressive than the PlayStation 4 Pro. The only bad thing is there's really nothing new on this to play, except for, a couple AAA newer games that come out that I'm not buying. But it's been a nice way to go back on stuff I already own, and tested out some of the 360 revamped titles, which is pretty cool. But yeah, Nintendo Switch still definitely takes the cake for me. Being able to take it on flights is just a freaking godsend. There's been so many good games for it. But I look forward to putting some more time on Xbox, for sure. Hopefully putting some more time on everything, get some freaking use out of it. This is an interesting one. Really good song, though. They're all great. I mean, every freaking song on this album is, like I said, I might have a little bit of bias, but there's some, like, really strange concept songs on Nothing that I really enjoy, but, like, I wouldn't introduce Meshuggah to someone with these songs. They're, like, very, like, Glints Collide, and, it's just some other weird ones on that album. Hearing music, I can't think off the top of my head, but there's plenty of weird ones like that. Obsidian, that's a 8-minute long song with like 4 notes. But every song on here I think is really representative of what Meshuggah is as a whole, which is really impressive, especially considering they were whipping out so much material in that time. I mean, from Nothing to ObZen, they put out how many albums? So they did Nothing twice. Well, Nothing. That's kind of funny to say that. But they wrote Nothing and remastered it, so call that one. Then they did Catch 33. Then they did which is, another EP, 20-minute long single song. And then they did this. So in the span of 6 years, they had so much material compared to most bands, which is really impressive. And they changed so much, and not really stylistically, but what they, pushing the envelope, what it meant to use an 8-string and all that stuff. So really cool. But yeah, I was hoping by the time I got to this episode that Gears 2 would be among the touched up Xbox One X enhanced 360 games, because Gears 3 is actually, you can play in 4K on this, which is pretty damn cool. This game, Gears 3, honestly looks as good, if not better, in some ways as far as the art style goes than Gears 4 does. There's some texture work and that sort of stuff that doesn't hold up quite as well, but I mean, it's from 2011, so gotta give it a little bit of slack. But I was hoping Gears 2 would be on the list by now, because I would definitely be playing that game instead, because I listened to this album, a couple of Megadeth albums, a bunch of Metallica albums, but this album a lot playing Horde mode, and especially with Ashton, he could attest to that. This is this is such a weird part. Like, how do you write that? How do you go, yeah, I want that part to go, there's still a part in Catch 33 in Death is Life, that one part that there's no pattern to it. Like, I can't learn something like that. If I sat down for like a couple days in a row and dedicated my time to it, I know it could, but it's frustrating that it doesn't, there's no tropes to it. It doesn't come naturally. It's very strange. And that's the kind of stuff that keeps me coming back to Meshuggah albums. I hear something new and learn something about it every time, or something clicks. It's like, oh, that's what they were trying to do, or that's the groove. Because so many times you're listening to the guitar and completely forget that most of the time, unless, very rarely, the snare isn't in 4/4. There's times that it isn't, but there's always a symbol in 4/4 underneath it that you can follow. I think there might be a couple like swing type songs, like the Demon's Name of Surveillance on Colossus, I think is in 6/8 or something like that. But there's always some relatable human time signature underneath all the ridiculousness, so no need to fear too much. I just realized I was engineer. I've not been repairing shit. Not that it matters, because progression in this game is all about RNG. Isn't that fun, kids? Whip out your daddy's credit card, because that's how you're going to level up faster. That's why I've not played this game a whole lot. I'm waiting for the season pass to go on sale. Get everything for super cheap. Maybe since the fidelity upgrade has happened, I don't know what note that is, because that's below F. Interesting. This is another song that's super hard to follow at first until you hear it. Like, don't listen to the guitars, listen to the drums. It's 4/4. But yeah, I'm planning on just going through all the Halos, all the Gears of War in the course of a year or so. So I'm kind of waiting on some stuff to lighten up on price before I do so. Oh yay, Enforcer, best weapon in the game. Is there a Lancer anywhere? I don't think I have the monitor volume up high enough, because I keep misspeaking. I can hear myself, but it's kind of hard to talk while listening to Genty Gent. This was the days before they called this Gent, which was such a nice, naive time before we tried to start making, different classifications for every little different type of nuance between metal styles. The good old days. To be fair, Meshuggah is like a genre of their own, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you, sir. The one thing this album doesn't have going for it, in my opinion, is it definitely doesn't have as much of the live energy as Violent Sleep of Reason does, which is, a consequence of it being so perfect, and they, in general fashion, they tracked the drums first and overlaid everything else on top, which, you get this pristine result. But I think stuff like Violent Sleep of Reason and other live recorded albums just get a more preferable vibe. Can I get this guy? I might be able to get him. I thought you were goner. I pretty much wrote that guy off. And I'm gonna hide here like a little puss. Does that guy boom? He does. Nothing too bad though. What is shooting me from that ankle? But I mean, it's kind of a good thing it's so pristine, because you can keep listening to it, but it's like it's the exact same experience every time. Whereas with, I keep noticing new details about it, but Violent Sleep of Reason, I keep hearing these little nuance, errors. That's what they are, but it gives so much life, and it's stuff that once you take it away, it loses something about it. Just like the way they tracked that album was super insane as far as the amp mixture and all that goes. There's a couple of just like sludge amps in there that sounded like garbage on their own. I mean, no one in their right mind would ever use that, but you take it away from the overall mix and it's missing something. And that's kind of like this album in general. It's so clear, it's so punchy, but I kind of think it could have done with a little bit of wrongness. You know what I mean? Can I? Yeah, I'll upgrade that. Why not? Can I upgrade this thing? Nah, just refill it. So I guess that's like the one bad thing about this album in hindsight. But as far as all the complainers about the mix and stuff goes, I'm fine with it. I'm more than fine with it. It fit the time. I think it fit what they were going for. Some of my favorite album art ever as well on this album. Super creepy. Absolutely some of the creepiest shit. 3-armed, like pale white Buddha type figure. Super simplistic, but got the point across for sure. Oh, this is another one of those universal clashing, like a neutron stars blowing up. I don't know. It's almost the Pigtronics device he's using almost gives a Egyptian vibe. That's the only other thing I can think of. It reminds me of tonality wise. But you've already got stuff like Nile, which is Egyptian death metal, Egyptian themed death metal. So it's kind of that, but not really. Unique. That's definitely what it is. Obviously not today, because so many bands are ripping off everyone else. But for the time, nothing like it. And I don't remember what's after this. If it's yeah, I thought it was. I was going to say. So this is Provis. This is another deceptively simple song. It's 1 2 1 1 2 3 1 1 2 1 1 2 3 4 1. And as long as you can get the hammer on pull off, it's really not that hard. But I remember Martin complaining in a like a lesson video that people were not tabbing this right because they were just going da 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 instead of da 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 da. They were missing the bottom hammer on pull off, and that's like one of the bad things. And I'm super guilty of it, even with the stuff I write that's not that technical. But even the 6-string classic rock sounding stuff that I do, I leave like too much technicality in there for its own good. That by the time you get in a final mix, even if there's like a kick drum or cymbal work that's accentuating those hits, it gets lost, which is really frustrating and very unfortunate. But I mean, I could hear this plain as day because it's what I'm used to playing. But there's probably plenty of newcomers that at the time, and I was among that group at one point, that you miss those finer things, which gives another layer of hardened fans, I guess, to enjoy. But at the same time, they were even joking. It's like, why the hell do we even bother then? And there's stuff that they play super fast that sounds really cool slowed down that it kind of makes you second guess, and that's what makes them Meshuggah. So no loss for me. If anything, it's a gain. That wasn't a very smart decision putting that right by a turret, but too late now. This is a verse I don't think I could still play cleanly. I can play it, but I just have so much residual string ringing and slop on the bottom string. It impresses me every time I hear this part. And they play it just fine live too. Of course, I haven't played it in years probably, but it's just like inhumane how they're able to keep that up. Oh, I'm by myself. Perfect. That's good. Well, fortunately for us, there's one more song after this, and it's long as sin. So we've got time, but I think I'm going to try to power through this alone, much as I can. And that'll be that, instead of trying to find a whole new area to play in. That's what makes me rage about this. I'm good so far, but what's really frustrating is when you get into the 30-ish waves. That's what gets bad. I think I've completed 50 waves once on Gears 4, and of course it was casual. Completed 50 waves all the time on 2 and 3. Obviously there was a lot more stuff to play, and quite frankly a lot better stuff to play around the time this game launched. Kind of same deal with Halo 5. I played a lot of Halo 5 multiplayer, but I've not gone back and played the campaign more than once, all that kind of stuff. So kind of in the same boat. This is another simplistic, just brutal assault here. Another one of those why didn't I write it type of things. Jesus, will you go down? No, it's not the... I want a Lancer. I'm just going to bitch out here. But yeah, you know, I figure I might as well give you loyal people who have stuck around until now a little bit of insider information on what's going on. So I'm going to make a video in a few days, hopefully, by the time this goes out, that announcing that I want to need some artists, or at least one, but I would love multiple to have their input if possible. Obviously, there's stuff for the channel. I've got some design concepts, but I'd like people to get their input and see what they think, because I'm no decorator, I'm no designer. As far as technical drawings, that sort of stuff, yeah, I can do that all day, no problem. And I totally saw that coming. But for decorative stuff, you know, like channel icons, that sort of thing that I'm wanting, I'm not the guy for that. So I'd love to see what people have input on. But for the year anniversary of this channel, I'd love to have, you know, everything revamped, everything up to date as far as you know, the official year 2 start. And I don't know, I have some ideas. I just need someone to help me flesh them out and actually do it. And there's plenty of other stuff that doesn't have to be done immediately, but I'd love someone to make me a custom font. I'd love, you know, obviously the logo and channel icon, art, all that background good stuff. But obviously I'm going to need some album art and stuff eventually, and that's a little bit more loose, but I'm absolutely willing to pay for someone's concept art services and that sort of stuff. So thought I would get that out there, and I'll make an announcement video and, you know, give the small community here about a week or so advance, and then I'll start looking on my own. But I thought I would do that for you know, anyone else's advantage if they so happen to have that talent. Everyone went absolutely insane playing this song live, which is kind of funny considering I think it's kind of a niche song, but it was absolutely brutal. This is one of the ones I about lost like chunks of hair on because of the mosh pit behind me. Totally worth it though. I don't think I've never showed video of that, but I was standing literally like 3 feet in front of Friedrich when I saw them live. And next time they're on tour, I will absolutely go see them when they're close. The next time I would have saw them on the same tour, but Friedrich took a break from touring, and they got Per Nelson, and he's a freaking amazing guitarist from shit, what's it called? On the tip of my tongue, and I'm not going to be able to remember it. Another amazing Swedish guitarist. He plays Strandbergs, and you know, I would like to hear him live. I don't want to hear him with Meshuggah though, because Meshuggah is Friedrich Thorndahl and Morton, as far as I'm concerned. And you know, obviously no one will replace anyone else. Thomas Hawk is, honestly, if he left, there'd be no more Meshuggah. But being the guitar player nerd I am, I want to see the freaking guitar player. So it's a bit disappointed that I couldn't see him twice. Honestly, I wanted to hear their Fortin amps. Is a big reason I wanted to see them again. But I have a feeling Friedrich went to work on Special Defects. Wow, really? 100%, 3 hits. That's nice. Good thing this didn't have a whole lot of time left. I was not raging, just slightly annoyed. So far, this series hasn't lived up much to its name, but we're getting there. Tell you what, I'm going to splurge on some good stuff. The sad part is I don't think any of this is really all that great. I'll do that. You know what? Let's get a... Yeah, that's not that great either. Let's just get a freaking boom shot. Kill them all! Yeah, I'm really excited to hear if they keep their custom Fortin design amplifiers. They're basically like, you know, the Satan. I have a feeling they're just slightly modified JCM 800. Yeah, it's a plexi circuit. All of Mike Fortin's bass designs are just basically hot rodded plexi circuits that have different frequency sculpting abilities, and the bass, middle, and treble actually do something. Unlike on most plexis, where like on modern amps from 0 to 10, or like from 0 to 10 on a Plexi would be like 4 to 6 on a modern amp. They're like very small deviations of the same tone. Oh my god, I'm teetering on the rage part. We're getting there. So I just wasted like 6,000 credits there. I was gonna say, is he still shooting at me? This is what sucks. This is what I absolutely hate about Horde now. Is you just can't keep any player base. How in the hell, unless you have 4 friends that own this game, which, let's be real, not that many people bought this freaking game. Gears 3, no problem. Gears 2, definitely no problem. But Gears of War is just not that popular anymore. And did I sure did. Yep. Couldn't have, let me try to get him back on the ground. But like some of this stuff is just impossible. So I hate achievements anymore. There's like that one in Wolfenstein 2, Mein Leben. Gotta beat the game all the way through on the hardest difficulty, and if you die once, you have to start all the way from the beginning of the game. So it's like one 10-hour setting, you have to do this freaking game. So I'll probably never get that. If I do, I'll consider it a very large personal achievement. What a drag this is. Oh well. Yeah, there's plenty of other stuff coming up on the channel. Is what I'm trying to get at. But you guys, hope you guys stick around for. Check out. I haven't talked about my Randall Thrasher yet. That'll be upcoming, but I wanted some more time to spend with it before I did. When that review does come, though, expect a bit more opinionated piece than the past. I really like it. I love the thing, but it concerns me about the future of Randall, and I'll leave it at that. But that's why I've not made one. I'm sure people saw it in the past couple of videos, and oh my god, really? That's what we're doing? If we had one more person, this would be doable. But I can't. I made it from 125 to 133 that time. Super good. And we've got like 4 or 5 more minutes on this song, so we might as well stick through it. Quit trying to invite myself. But as far as review stuff goes, I think... Oh, there's one other thing. There's some software stuff I've got, which... big apologies to the guy who sent me free software. It's actually more drum samples I'll get to later, though. I was kind of planning on using those on the 1,000 sub special. I planned on doing a little bit more for the 1,000 sub special, but it took so long to get to what I did because I was still writing a lot of those parts, and during that time I was working on... That's a snippet of about a 9-minute song, and I was working on the parts that came before and after it, and I tracked the middle part already, so I had a good grasp of it. But I was planning on doing the whole thing, and I was like, okay, we're 2 days out from this video when I want it out, and I'm nowhere close. So let's just do this section and call it a day. And it's gotten really good reception, which is good. Not many views, but I'm not expecting a video whose first words are 1,000 subscriber special to do that well. So, not disappointed in the least. Very, very happy to see people are enjoying at least one flavor of my original work. That's something you worry about. Because I've only had... Oh, goody. Here we go. Oh, it's B. I probably didn't get that prompt. When you only have friends and family that listen to your original stuff, and I'm very selective about what they're able to hear. I've probably heard like 15% of the stuff I've written or am working on. So it's nice to hear complete strangers who have no reason to like it to reinforce that it's worthwhile. Because you're your own worst critic generally. No, I am. And we are winding down on the album, on what is probably the most accomplished song on this. I don't know, between this and Bleed, as far as like the most batshit crazy orchestral type composition goes. But either way, so many great songs on this album, and cemented my my love for Meshuggah at a young and impressionable age of 13, I guess I was. And of course, made me go back and look through all the other stuff. It's crazy. listening to these guys for 10 years. Of course, so many other people have been listening to them for 25, 30 years. But as far as what modern Meshuggah is, this is the peas and carrots. Peas and carrots, as Forrest Gump would say. So, yeah, this probably won't be the last time we listen to Meshuggah on this series we do, but obviously, as you can tell, this album was quite influential to me, so good stuff. And with that, that'll about wrap it up as this album fades into the ether. So, hope you enjoyed that. Hope you had more fun watching this than I did playing these past, like, 10 minutes, because people are dickheads in this game sometimes and like to leave you with absolutely no success measures at all. So I'm just going to finish this out and quit and get some credits. Call it a day. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this tied you over for a little bit, because like I said, this is going to be a pretty sparse couple of weeks, and we'll get back to some regularly scheduled content on reviews and all that good stuff in the near future. So thanks for watching. We will see you next time. Bye.